Donna Murphy is a well-loved Broadway star who is currently dazzling audiences as matchmaker Dolly Levi in the musical comedy classic Hello Dolly. Hear the two-time Tony Award winner talk about why the iconic role hits close to home, her unforgettable face-off with acting icon Stella Adler, her Long Island childhood, and so much more on this week's show, people. Hello, Donna. I'm so happy you're here.
Hello,
it's so good to have you here where you belong. Finally.
You're so sweet. I'm so happy to be here.
I have wanted to have you as a guest forever. I mean, I've known you for years, but to actually get to have this opportunity with you it's a little intimidating, I have to say, because there's so many things I could talk to you about. You've had so many great moments throughout your career. So it's if anything, I'm like, what are we going to talk about? There's so many options. Let's just see how it goes.
It's good to have options.
Yeah, it's good to have options. You know what? You're right, because then you can come back. We can just keep doing this. We can make a collection.
Part 2, Part 3, Part 4.
But what I really want to talk about is Hello Dolly.
Yeah.
Finally got to see you play Dolly Levi. It is fantastic. You did it originally. You were the alternate for Bette Midler in her first run.
Yes.
And then now you're back. And how's it feel to be back?
It is so much fun. And there is, the unexpected experience just has a different sort of energy vibe about it. And so I finished my initial run, if you will, my very unusual run, alternating with Bette. And that was a perfect fit for myself and my personal life with as a relatively new single mom. My husband had passed away, and I thought January 7th, that's it for me with Dolly, and wow, it's been great. And I really did miss her in the months that followed, because there's such joy in doing this show and embodying this woman and connecting with the company and connecting with the audiences that there was like a physical ache in missing her that I was palpable, truly palpable. And anyway, but I didn't think I need to do something about that, or I wonder if I'll ever get the chance again. It was just life moved on, and then I got this call, and it really came out of the blue, and I also didn't know if it was something that was going to work for me. But the more I thought about it, I thought, you know what, it's such a limited period of time, and I loved getting to play her so much, and I loved the opportunity to be on stage again. But just to get back to what it's like coming back, so much effing fun that I remember after the first performance a week ago Sunday, I ran off from the first scene, and I said, that was so much effing fun. That was so much fun. And I just was like on a high and a roll, and they were like, and you need to come over here and get this touched up, and then I was like, okay, just tell me where to be. But it truly just, my body had forgotten what the experience, what the physical and emotional experience was like, and that reacquaintance with it, that reunion, it was like, woo! Oh,
I was there. I was there for that first performance.
You were there.
Back.
You were there. So.
And it was incredible. And I have to say, so Hello Dolly is of course based on Thornton Wilder play The Matchmaker. He obviously wrote Our Town, beautiful, beautiful play.
One of the most seminal plays.
Death seems to be sort of an interesting topic for him, right? And there are 3 widowed characters in Hello Dolly. And I feel like when I watched the show and seeing you do it, I mean, you created a sensation from the first run. Seeing Bette do it was must-see, seeing Bernadette do it, you have to see Donna Murphy do the role. I mean, it is incredible. But what I really love about this show are the scenes talking to Ephraim, and I feel like those scenes almost take the musical to a whole other level.
I really have to bless not only Thornton Wilder, but Michael Stewart and Gower Champion for having the wisdom to retain so much of what Thornton wrote, not only in theory and in intention and in plot and character, but in the words themselves. I mean, how many musicals have a character step forward and do a monologue that's a monologue and that they don't choose to musicalize?
Right.
Those speeches to Ephraim, as I said, I think in most musicals the choice would have been made to turn those into a song, and to leave them in and then have her sing, before the parade passes by. Jerry Zaks, to his credit, really emphasized the simplicity of it, and Dolly is both very animated and very, her feet are firmly planted on the ground, and that relationship with Ephraim, I think she talks to him 1,000 times a day, and she just on this particular day it's the day that she has made this decision.
Yeah.
You know, that she's going to make a big change. So the stakes are really high, and it's always good to meet an audience or have an audience meet you on the day where a decision has been made and the stakes have raised.
Well, I was sobbing in the audience watching you do those scenes. As you mentioned, your fantastic husband, Shawn Elliott, we lost him. You lost him 2 years ago. The whole theater committee lost him. Very talented, wonderful man. So used to seeing you two together on the theater scene for so many years. You were married 26 years and together
36. Yeah, we always called it the wedding anniversary was the whatever plus 10.
Wow, 36 years. So is it fair to say when you're doing those scenes, he's with you, or do you need to sort of remove yourself slightly?
Well, I had to be really careful because I remember years ago when I was first studying acting, teachers talking about if you're choosing personal things from your life to somehow utilize, don't choose things that are really recent and really close, because that's actually psychologically not healthy.
Right.
When I first read that script and I got to the third page and there was a monologue to Ephraim, I just burst into tears and I thought I can't do this because it's too fresh, it's too close. And Shawn really was my partner in everything. You know, because we were both actors. He was a bit older than I was. It was not a Henry Higgins situation, but I definitely had, a man with a lot of perspective, and but we learned from each other, and that was really great. And we counted on each other to be that really honest eye that you have with somebody who knows you better than anyone else. I took for granted the conversations that happened while we were brushing our teeth and flossing, or cleaning up in the kitchen after our daughter had gone to bed, about something that happened in rehearsal, or something I was thinking about doing and I wanted to try that day. Those things really came up for me once I was in rehearsal, that there was no one there. I was having the conversation with myself. But you know what? Shawn has so been with me. But I did have to say, if I'm doing this show, I have to remind myself, this is Dolly's journey, and Dolly is 10 years out from losing her husband. And I'm months out as I start this process. I mean, it was a year out by the time I actually started performances. There are days when it feels like it can't be possible that he's gone. And other days that 2 years ago feels like so long ago that it's surreal. He's very much with me. I remember when I was asked to do it, and when I was coming close to arriving at thinking that I very well might, I suddenly thought about, I have 2 older stepdaughters, and both of them, Justine and Ivy, I love so much, so graciously, and like without a beat said, oh, Dad's all over this. Dad is so all over this. He's a part of the reason that this came to you at this time. And my little one, too, was like my little one who's 13 and gaining on all of us, height-wise and in many ways. She was so excited about the premise of me doing this. So I feel Shawn's presence with me in a very, very deep way at the theater. And it deepens the meaning of this, and it lightens it, too. And at the same time, I don't feel like Donna up there, and I don't feel like I'm talking to Shawn. I feel like I'm Dolly, and I've made Ephraim a very specific person. He definitely has some commonalities with my husband, and there are aspects of the relationship because I think they were really partners, and I think they really got each other. And even if they fought, in the end there was okay, honey, come on, let's just agree to disagree on this one. And Shawn and I had that too. So there are parallels, but the story is separate from mine.
It's working beautifully, whatever you're doing. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Donna Murphy. And we are back with 2-time Tony Award winner Donna Murphy. We didn't even mention how are your Tonys doing?
Well, one is very safe up at my mom's in Topsfield, Massachusetts.
Okay. Which one?
The King and I.
Okay.
And Passion one, I actually somebody, like a friend of a friend said, could I actually see the Tony? Somebody who's coming into town to see the show. And my Tony, I don't know, the medal that in 1994, it kind of like turned in a funky way, or else maybe somebody in my house was trying to clean it with like too abrasive a product. I don't know if I can like get a new version of it. It's
You need
still
a
beautiful,
refurbished Tony
incredibly
Award.
meaningful, and it just makes me feel a little old because it looks like it's aged. But it's beautiful that it's still there. It's not broken. Nobody's thrown it at me in anger. You know, Shawn and I never we said the Tony's off limits. You're gonna throw something at me. Don't throw the.
So your Tony's not looking good, but you are. You look better than ever. And you know, you're a very, I feel like people think of you as a very classy lady of the stage.
But I'm a goofball.
You would never know, though, that you're from Long Island.
I'm from Queens.
Queens
Both
and Long
my parents
Island,
are from Queens.
right? I mean, like you had a Long Island childhood.
Yeah, I lived out of Long Island in Hauppauge, Long Island.
Was there accents in your family?
Yeah, we all talk like this.
Yeah?
Yeah, my mother
Let's
still
do the rest of
talks
the
like
interview.
this. It's like a badge of honor.
The rest of the interview, we're going to...
I'm going to talk like this. Yeah, it was Donna Murphy from Hauppauge, and we didn't come into New York. You know, the city was New York. It was so funny.
Right.
Like, that was
yeah,
New York.
City, yeah.
We never said New York City. You know, I'd say, can we go into New York? My father would say, you're in New York. Calm down, you're in New York.
So you didn't come in and see shows and...
I never saw a Broadway show.
That's crazy.
I mean, what's sad is that, I remember being thrilled when my parents came home, and they didn't see many. I'm the oldest of 7.
Right. Your parents were busy.
My
7
parents
kids.
were very busy. My dad was an aerospace engineer, and my mom was a saint and a martyr, you know, who was raising 7 kids, and also my great-grandmother moved in with us because she had raised my mom, basically, and at a point was getting fragile, and so we took care of her, too. We all took care of each other. I mean, I was 4 or 5 and in charge of whoever was a couple of years younger than me.
I feel like I see that in your personality. I feel like I see the mature. I feel like you were probably mature and sort of...
You know, I grew up fast, and I think I figured out pretty quickly there's always going to be someone younger, cuter, and needier than you. So get over it.
Whether
Enjoy.
that's a sibling or another actress in the audition? Is that what you're saying?
It's funny how that has applied in my later life. But as a kid, I just realized, not that I was trying to, intellectually figure out how do I get attention, but maybe that was a piece of my being drawn to performing. I just loved it from a very early age. But growing out, I dropped the New York accent. Sorry, wait. So anyway, we're out, in Hauppauge, and I remember saying to my mother when I was 3, I want singing lessons, Mommy. I want to learn how to sing better. And my mother looked in the yellow pages for voice lessons. Okay.
And Joan later wasn't in there.
Joan? I'm surprised she wasn't. No, it only took me until I was 31 years old to finally have formal voice training.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, I had voice training as an actress at NYU when I was in the undergrad drama department and studying with Stella at the conservatory, to give full credit. Or maybe they don't want the credit, whatever, full responsibility. But as a singer, I didn't study, I didn't come to formal study until late. But my mom did find me an accordion teacher.
Right.
I don't know what the journey from voice lessons
So it's we'll do something artistic.
Yeah, so
accordion.
I was 4 and a half. The accordion, they found a child-sized accordion, and I went to a group class at this little village hall on Vets Highway. It was all adults and this 4-and-a-half-year-old. And I was just game, and I built up a little repertoire, and I would bring that accordion. Once I started kindergarten, I'd put it in a wagon, I kid you not. I would walk to school, bring the accordion with me, and play. Nobody asked me to do it, by the way. I just kind of volunteered my services, and I would play as people entered the school. And I think I had 2 songs that I knew by heart. Drink to Me Only with Thine Eyes, a nice German drinking song, and strangely enough, I've grown accustomed to her face.
Really?
I mean, and I liked singing both of those songs as people entered Forest Brook Elementary School in Hauppauge, Long Island. I don't know if when I sang, I sort of tried to imitate other people, because that's, part of the way you learn is listening, and maybe I sang like Julie Andrews because she was somebody I listened a lot to, and Streisand, and any album I could get my hands on. But I remember when my parents came to see, is this random or what? Golden Rainbow.
Oh, Stephen Eady.
With Stephen Eady.
Stephen Eady.
And I remember looking through the playbill, and I went, there's a kid in this show. there's a kid in this show. You can be a kid and be on Broadway. And I turned angrily to my mother.
What the
and
heck
said,
am I doing in Long
Mommy,
Island?
I mean, I could be auditioning. Why didn't you tell me there are kids on Broadway? And she's like, honey, when you're an adult, you'll figure out if you want to do this. I'm like, I know what I want to do. But my parents very much, in all seriousness, they were pretty determined to not have me do this professionally, even though some opportunities presented themselves with teachers saying, she could, or maybe she should go to an arts school. Or my parents were like, no, we want her to just have a very well-rounded education, and when it's time for college, she can decide if she wants to be that specific and if it's still what she wants to do.
Well, she figured out what she wants to do.
Oh yeah, I was so single-minded about it.
You recently shared on Instagram a photo of you were in our town, right?
Yeah, in high school. My first show was Goldilocks and the Three Bears in kindergarten.
Oh.
And I was, as I said, cast against type because I was a brunette and I was Goldilocks.
Oh, look at that.
And I remember that at the end of the show, the kindergarten teacher had, staged for us. We all had a big party on stage, and there was some rock and roll, probably the Beatles playing, and we all danced. And I remember that there was a little curtain. The curtain got yanked closed, and somehow I was in front of the curtain. I didn't know it. The music was still playing. I was dancing, whatever, fruging, and this big with my little uneven bangs. And the audience suddenly was like laughing louder and clapping louder, and I was like, this is the greatest feeling. And I started probably mugging like crazy. And then at one point, I did a spin and I realized the curtain was closed behind me and it was just me. And this is kind of fun, and I'm quite embarrassed and delighted at the same time.
Wow. And so you went to high school in Massachusetts, and I know you did The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
you convinced them, and you taped it. What was that?
Okay, so what happened was, in elementary school years, and I did 6th grade middle school out in Hauppauge.
Okay.
And the arts were really stupendously funded at that time. I mean, we were in public schools, and I played in the orchestra in elementary school. I played accordion. Then I took violin in school and loved that. And actually, there was a songwriting competition. I composed a song, and the prize for the winner was that your song was played by the orchestra. Oh. So I actually was a composer at 9 years old. But that was because of what was really being encouraged and nurtured there in this public school setting. And when I moved to Massachusetts, beautiful town and a wonderful regional school district that had some very nice arts funding, but in the junior high, they did plays but not musicals. And I was like, what do you mean you don't do musicals? There's so much of my identity that was already wrapped. And I did plays and musicals back in Long Island. But I got together with a bunch of very new friends because I just moved up there. And I said, they should do musicals in the junior high. And one of my girlfriend's dad was the principal of the junior high. As my friend Nancy, who I hope is partying with my husband wherever in the universe. Their energies definitely are connecting, I hope. And she's like, they don't have it in the budget. It's not going to happen, And I said, what if we made it so just a no-brainer financially? So of course there were no VCRs.
Right.
The only way to see a movie or to see The Wizard of Oz was to see it in a movie theater if they had
TV.
Or to watch on TV. So I was combing programming for when it was going to be on, and then we all had our cassette players. We recorded the entire thing on however many cassettes. I ordered from Samuel French some version that could be licensed of a straight play version.
Okay.
And then I got the sheet music for all the songs. And then we wrote our own adaptation that was like a combo platter of all of these things. So because
totally illegal. But
my reasoning was we won't have to pay royalties, and I didn't even know what I was talking about. But in some very unsophisticated way, it was my way of saying we can do this because it will be our version of it. And somehow we talked the principal and the arts department into doing this, and they double cast all the parts, so many kids got to participate. And so we worked on that over the course of 7th grade, and by 8th grade, it happened.
It's like a big project.
Yeah, and from then on, there was a musical in the junior high.
Oh, see that?
Yeah.
And who'd you play?
Who do you think I played? I was one of the Dorothys.
Did you sing Over the Rainbow?
I did.
Have you sung it since?
No.
It might be time. I don't know. I want to see that. Do you want to sing it now?
when all the world. No, I don't know the lyrics. It's going to be embarrassing. I'll have to come back for part 2.
Is there video? There's no video of this of you as.
There wasn't video in those days.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe there was, but not in a.
There's a lot of good Donna Murphy on YouTube, but I wish it had started even earlier.
I know.
Did you ever watch yourself on YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's good stuff out there.
Because every once in a while I'm like, oh my God, wow, that existed.
Look what I did.
That's there.
Look what I did.
And at other times I'm like, okay, that's enough. Go to bed. Go to bed, Donna. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take another break. We'll be right back with more Donna Murphy. We're back with Miss Donna Murphy, currently slaying, I like that term, in Hello Dolly, on Sundays.
Sundays.
The Sunday
and
slay.
one Monday night. Sundays
okay.
at 3, and then Monday, August 20th
Yes.
at 7 p.m.
There are
My
3 more
final
opportunities.
performance. We think. Who knows? It could pop up again. But
Yeah.
right now, that's what we know. Yeah.
Yeah, August 12th, 19th, and 20th are the 3 performances. You guys have to go see it. So you went to NYU.
I did.
And you kind of famously, while you were taking a class, you auditioned for a Broadway show, kind of as part of the class. They were trying to give you the experience of really getting out there.
Yeah.
And it was, they're playing our song. And I've had that song stuck in my head ever since I knew you were coming. Oh my God, that score is so addictive.
It's such a fun score.
Yeah.
It's such a fun score. Yes, so I did. I was taking this class called Survival in the Theater.
Right.
But in all honesty, I'd started auditioning for musicals before I even started taking classes, just going to open calls for the fun of it, because I thought, oh my God, if I get typed in.
Because you were still a little girl at the Golden Rainbow Playbill.
Yeah.
You were like,
going,
wait a minute,
"Wow,
I'm in New York, I want to be in a Broadway show.
Exactly. So I got to NYU a few days before classes started, and I saw somebody in the lobby with this newspaper that said backstage, and I said, oh, is that like backstage stories? And they're like, no, it's auditions. I'm like, really? So I open up, and I'm like, what's an open call? What's not equity? What's equity? I mean, really, nothing
Right.
happening.
Right.
Didn't know. And 2 days before class started, I went to an open call for first, I think, revival of hair. I got typed in the night before. I braided my then down on my butt long hair in tiny little braids, and then let it all frizz out, and wore my peasant blouse and peasant skirt, and went to the audition. And I remember I sang Dream Babies, and I got to stand on stage with the ghost light at whatever theater it was. It's a shame that I don't remember what it was. We could all look it up. I feel like it was the Ambassador or something. and sing my song. They let me sing all the way through, and I went, oh my God, I just sang the whole song. And afterwards, they asked for me to come down and talk to Tom O'Horgan. And Tom said, we want you to come back. He said, don't wear any makeup. And it's not like I had a lot of makeup on, but I had some makeup on. I said, don't wear any makeup. At least he didn't say don't wear any clothes, which he would have been,
Would you have been okay with that, with the nude scene at that
I didn't even
age?
think about it. I don't know if I even knew about it.
Right,
And I just knew it was the show that was available to go in for an open call for was
it's
there.
Broadway.
And I thought, great. They had my contact info, which, by the way, was like the dorm number, just the main desk number at the dorm.
Right.
So I didn't get a call back, and I was so bummed. I thought, wow, Broadway is cruel. They lie to you. And okay, it's baptism by fire. I'm developing the thick skin. It's okay. But hey, I got to stand on a Broadway stage and sing a song, and they said, we might be interested. So that's not too bad a thing for somebody who just came
Yeah, absolutely.
here. And long story short, some friends who ran a theater up in Massachusetts that I had been a singing waitress at, North Shore Music Theater, the summer before, I wrote to them and said, it's kind of disappointing I didn't get a call back. And they wrote me back and said, honey, the show closed. I just had no idea that it had closed.
Wow, right.
So I periodically went to open calls for musicals because I was studying to be a serious actress. There wasn't a musical theater program at that time. I was studying with Stella Adler, and you really weren't supposed to perform in any venue, at school or outside of it, until after your sophomore year, because they wanted to, it was a very principled approach. They wanted you to not fall back on sort of just maybe bad habits you had, or things that were things you did instinctively, but without any sense of understanding why you were doing what you were doing, and they wanted you to develop technique. That you could call upon for the rest of hopefully a career in the theater. And I respected that, but I wasn't a kid who spent time in the city growing up when I was out on Long Island. So there was a part of me that in a way, I was very mature And in other ways, I was not mature enough to be in this city and know that there were open calls that I could go to and have the discipline to say, you know what, it's not time yet. So I would occasionally, I'm sorry, NYU, I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, cut classes and go to an open call. I'd sign up and maybe I'd get typed in, maybe I wouldn't. Maybe.
Did your parents know you were doing that?
Eventually.
When
I got a Broadway show.
After you won a Tony. By the way, I was auditioning all those years.
No, when I got a Broadway show. I told them, I guess they knew. I was considering taking a leave of absence, actually, after my sophomore year, because I thought, I'm so distracted by the business, I think that it's kind of not fair. And not that I wasn't learning a lot. And actually, it was my sophomore year where the technique started to make sense a bit to me. And I also, my freshman year, I was really nervous to get up and work because Stella, I was in class with Stella, and she was very tough on her students, especially the women, actually, I felt. I was a perfectionist, and I didn't want to get up there until I thought I was going to slay. And so I worked in the classes where we were doing exercises, but like in terms of presenting a monologue or doing a scene, I didn't do anything until my sophomore year. And then I almost didn't, and then I did, and that's a whole long story that I won't go into now, but it was a really important moment in my life. Because she dared me kind of to, she made fun of me, and she didn't like the choice of material that I had chosen, and she was mocking me as I was preparing, and I thought, if I don't get out of my chair right now and do the work, I'll never get up in this class. And I did, and my scene partner kind of looked across and he was like, like, I'm not getting up there with you. He was going to play my father in the scene. So then I thought, okay, Stella's my father. And I played the scene with her.
Wow.
And I thought, it's never going to get any better than this. Wow. Got the best scene partner in the world.
What scene was it?
It was Chrissy in Boom Boom Room, David Rabe's Boom Boom Room. And I just like had on some, skimpy little outfit, and, Chrissy was like a dancer and a kind of a go-go dancer, if you will, and very troubled, young woman. And I got up and she said, whores, why do they all want to play whores? She said, where's your Rosalind? Where's your Juliet? Where's the Shaw? Where's the Miller? If you want to play from the street and from the alley, where's Miller? And I was just like, this is what I got, man. I got to get up. I've been putting it off, signing up and taking myself off the list for weeks.
Wow.
And I got up and worked, and, it went better than it would have ever gone, probably, without, because the stakes got raised so high. And I really did I played it to her.
Right.
She became my partner.
Right.
And there was no one that I needed more approval from in that moment, which was part of what Chrissy was trying to figure out, how to make sense of her life, but she also needed something. Right. And I needed it from Stella.
Wow.
And I finished, and she said to the class, I have nothing to say. The girl's an actress. Oh. So that was like, wow. But then when I was leaving class, don't you love that I said I wasn't going to tell the story, and now I'm telling the whole damn story. So we were leaving, everybody's dispersing, and her assistant, Ron Burris, who's a wonderful teacher himself on the West Coast now, so did this to me, and I went, oh, shit. So I gathered my things. I was still in my little fishnet stockings and red patent leather rain boots with a platform, and my high ponytail, and I went up there, and she said, don't you ever do that to me again. And I said, what? She said, interrupt me when I'm speaking. I was speaking when you got up. I'm not doing good, Stella. I wouldn't attempt to imitate Stella. I was speaking when you got up, and you disrespected me in front of this entire class. And they need to know who's in charge. And that should never be questioned. And for a fellow student, for you to do that, how dare you? And I was just shaking, literally, in my boots.
Wow.
And then she said, however, would you please take that nerve, that gumption, and apply it to your work? Why have you been so lazy? Why haven't I seen you here working before? And I remember saying, yes, ma'am. And she said, okay, we're done. Work. Do your work.
Wow.
And I came out, and like the whole class was outside. What did she say? What did she? I said, I can't really talk about it right now. I just have to process it. But it's funny because it wasn't long after that I got there playing our song. I was taking that survival in the theater, getting back to your question, Paul, class, and I went to an open call legitimately, like I was told I could go to an open call, and I went to that open call, and I got a call back, and I got the job. They needed a second swing. The show had opened, it was a hit. The first swing was more of a dancer than a singer, and it was more of a singers who dance. You know, there were 3 backup singers for Lucy Arnaz at the time. Pat Birch was the choreographer, and you know, singing was just fun for me. And again, I wasn't really trained, but I had a fun, rangy voice. I loved to sing. I was much less inhibited about it than I am now. I always knew there was going to be somebody with a better voice, but I knew that I loved singing, and I loved singing all kinds of music, and I was up for anything. And I sang another song from the Me Nobody Knows.
Really? Is that the go-to?
I sang a song called This World, but I also sang like Young and Foolish, and you know, from Plain and Fancy, and I had you know, different things from. I loved Lily's songs from Carnival when I was trying to be an ingenue. But anyway. Then when it came time to move, I just never got that combination down. It wasn't that hard, but I didn't pick things up fast. I wasn't a trained dancer. But I loved to move, and I could, you know, pull it off well. And I loved moving with a sense of the character. And so I remember Pat Birch saying to like our group that got up to do the combination, okay, ladies, watch this one from the neck up, because it's a mess from the neck down. It's just all over the place, but she really has the character, the essence. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go glass half full on this and just hope my body does something that doesn't sort of triple for itself or a variation on that, and go with it. And then I got the job.
Wow.
And I found out, you know, Julie Hughes of Hughes Moss Casting, who cast like so many things on Broadway at the time, called and left a message. You know, I got in my little, you know, message box. I went down, any messages. Holy crap! And it was my birthday. It was my birthday.
Wow.
Yep. It was my 20th birthday.
Wow.
Do the math. Go ahead. It's too late. And there were a few friends who were like in the area. I said, "You are not going to believe this."
Wow.
And actually, it wasn't when I read that. First, it was just call Julie Hughes. It didn't say you had the job.
Right.
I called her, and she said, "Donna, I just want to say happy birthday," because I guess somewhere I had to fill out my age was somewhere. And I was like, "Are you saying I have the job?" And she's like,
"Amazing.
That's what happy birthday means today."
Amazing.
So amazing. And I tried to stay in school, but the school was not terrifically supportive of working around my schedule, and they weren't nuts about me doing a musical.
Right.
There was a little bit of a
Stella might not have been a big fan of they're playing our song like I am.
I don't think Stella knew it was happening, and I don't even know Stella knew, you know, that I left necessarily. Although I've stayed in touch with the conservatory and with actually her daughter and her grandson who runs it, Tom Oppenheim, and I've gone down and spoken to students there, and they actually have a wonderful musical theater conservatory that they do in the summer. And I've worked on master classes down there with the kids. And I always say, do you want me to tell the truth though about my story? Because I left, you know, and my parents were heartbroken because I also did very well academically, and I think my dad in particular always thought like, you could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer. I mean, I don't know that I could have been, but you know, at one point I remember him saying, "You don't have to do this." And I said, "Actually, I do, Daddy." And that's why I'm doing it, because I learned pretty quickly on, like, if you don't feel like you have to do it, you would not want to put up. Because I did their playing our song, and then at a point, I actually got to replace one of the actresses in the show, Debbie Shapiro, Gravitt. And it was wonderful, but I got bored really fast. And so I didn't have an agent, so I went to more open calls, and I thought, if I can get a new show, where I'm part of a new show and maybe have an understudy or a small part, that will be reason enough to leave, even if it's not another Broadway show. It didn't make a whole lot of economic sense, but I had this idea that I had to find a way to keep growing. So I got a show, Zapata, about the Mexican revolutionary Emiliano Zapata. It was at the Goodspeed Opera House. Bert Convey was directing it. God rest his soul.
Who was the star of that show?
Well, this sexy devil named Shawn Elliott.
Who you ended up spending the next 36 years with.
And I'd seen him on stage when I was 15 or 16. in Boston in the Fantastics. He'd done Jacques Brel up there. He'd originated the New York company of Jacques Brel as Alive and Well and Living in Paris. And then he'd done it in London. He did it in Boston. But then he did the Fantastics. I knew who he was. I thought he was really talented, and I definitely thought he was
very sexy.
A sexy man. A formidable man. But that's not why. I didn't know he was playing the role. It's just that somebody said at the callbacks for that show, I think that's Shawn Elliott. Shawn Elliott from like Jacques Brel? They're like, yeah. So then I was and he said he remembers us making eye contact and him thinking, she's got quite a voice and she's got very long legs. Anyway, yes, so that's how we met.
Yeah.
And if for no other reason, that's why I was meant to do that show, I believe. And it was, I always think like making that choice was a kind of, the choice to leave a Broadway show that was still running successfully. My parents, who were worried about me being in the business in the first place, were like, what are you doing?
Right.
But that was kind of the beginning, in a way, of a different level of taking responsibility for my career. And it was not easy.
Right.
And that's when in hearkening back to what I said earlier about, I feel like I have to do this. This is what I must do. And when I first came to the city, I thought, you know what? I'm going to go to school. I'm going to graduate. And then I'm going to give myself 5 years. And if I'm not making a living doing what I'm trained to do, I'm going to find something else to do with my life. It sounded very pragmatic and very mature and very thoughtful, but clearly completely ignorant of how this business works.
Yeah.
Because you can work, and then not work for a long period of time. And some of that may be because opportunities don't present themselves, or you come to a place in your career where you say, I don't want to do the same thing over and over again.
Right.
I want to play different types of roles, or I want the opportunity to work in film and television, or to do straight plays, or whatever it may be at a given moment. So, but my dad, that thing with my dad, it really like weighed heavy on me for a long time. I remember the moment when I was trying to explain to him how I actually use every part of myself as an actor. My intellect, my curiosity, my playfulness, desire to collaborate and create something bigger than I could ever create myself, to be part of a community. All those things, and things that I'm not even thinking of in this moment, are all being used, I said. And, I love to do research. I said, every job, I'm in school again, and it's not my favorite part, because my favorite part is the rehearsal room, really, until I'm performing, and I love that, but I love rehearsal. I just love it. And the research is a big piece of that. It's bringing all that in and having all that information and then kind of letting it go.
Right.
But, my dad, there was a point where I remember having a meal with him and him saying, I get it, honey. And I saw it. The last show that my dad saw me perform on stage, was appropriately a show called The People in the Picture at the Roundabout. And he didn't know he was ill at the time. None of us did. I remember the day after the opening party, my family, as many of them as possible, come to my opening. So it's always like a wrangling of the whole Murphy clan. I need 35 tickets for opening. That's just for the Murphys, just for the Murphys. But the next day he was saying, it's so much fun to watch you and not see you. It's like up there afterwards. And then he was sadly diagnosed with brain cancer about a month afterwards. It was really something to have him be able to voice that to me. What a gift, you know. And in a show about recognizing who you come from and where you come from, and all the stories that we carry within us. It was a beautiful thing and a gift for me.
I could talk to you for days. There's literally so much to talk about, and you're going to have to come back. We didn't even really dig into your career. There's so much more to talk about.
That's why I said my hashtag needs to be hashtag Tangent Queen. Because there's no soundbite. I'm incapable.
But I loved hearing where it all started and where it all came from, and those sort of early moments that led to this incredible career.
Thank
you,
Paul.
I just love this performance so much. Everyone really check it out. It's a great Sunday matinee show too.
It is.
Who doesn't want to spend Sunday with Hello Dolly?
You get to put on your Sunday clothes.
Yes.
And really, there's such a joy about it. But it's not just fluff. There's such a soulful journey at its center. and there is joy and happiness for days. So
Yes. So head to the
come
Shubert
and
Theater
visit us.
Sunday, August 12th and 19th, or Monday, the 20th. You can put on your
That's
Sunday
right.
clothes for Monday night,
Why
too.
not?
Why not? Donna, thank you so much for being here.
My
I can't
pleasure,
wait to
honey.
have you back in the chair again.
I'll be back.
Awesome.
I
Good.
would love it.
I got you on camera promising. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.